Good evening, everybody. It's good to have everyone here again. And this evening we are going to be talking about senior medical care and Medicare and possibly some Medicaid. Yep, all that good stuff. Basically all the medical side of growing older. So glad you guys are here, and we're so thankful to Josh and to William. This is Josh Mehl, who you might recognize a little bit at 10:30. He's our drummer. And his cohort in crime is William Gibbs. We are so thankful again that they are freely giving of their time to be here to present for us tonight, and that's a blessing to us, gentlemen, and we do appreciate it. So last week I forgot to open in prayer. This week I'm not, so let's pray. Father God, we know that planning ahead and looking ahead at what growing older looks like is not for the faint of heart. And so we are so thankful for folks like these two gentlemen who are willing to share with us, share their knowledge and their expertise. Lord, just bless us with open ears to hear, motivate our hearts to plan ahead, so that you can give us the most abundant life that we can have here on earth. We want to continue to participate in that kingdom of heaven here on earth for as long as we can. So, Lord, just bless our time together and give these gentlemen every word we need to receive. And thank you so much for bringing us together this evening. And we lift this time up to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Well, as she said, I'm the drummer. So who here goes to the 10:30 service? All right. Well, you have to, I guess. Yeah. Well, just to answer your question right now, no, I can't play quieter. That's the volume I got. So just deal with it, okay? It's good. It's because I'm in it. So, but yes, so I'm Josh. This is Mr. William. We were asked to just come talk about a couple things. Today I'm talking kind of about the company I work with. It's called Dedicated Senior Medical Center. It's in Wichita. The only one in Wichita as of right now. We're opening our second center in October. And what we focus on is your primary care, getting everyone a primary care doctor that specializes kind of in senior care, which is kind of important, I would think. There's a lot of things that we kind of do that's unique, not only to the city of Wichita, but kind of to the national primary care system as a whole. We take time to spend more time with our patients. We keep our patient panels lower, which means each doctor only sees about 450 patients total, which seems like a lot. But your average in Wichita is about 3,000. And so it's anywhere up to about 80% less. So that allows us to see people more frequently. We aim for about once a month appointment visits. We can do telehealth too. I understand people don't want to come in every month, which is okay. There are benefits to coming in every month, but we can get into that later. And then we're also trying to just be kind of a convenient source of your primary care, in that in our center we can do your x-rays, your lab works, get you all your medications, up to 300 of your most commonly prescribed medicines, right from our center. We also do ultrasounds, specifically an echocardiogram, which is an ultrasound of your heart. Has anyone had one of those? Yeah, if you haven't, my question would be, why haven't you? I know Frank, our echo guy, he says he comes across 95-plus-year-old patients all the time who've never had a picture of their heart taken. Seeing as it's the engine of your body, I would see you should probably get that taken. So. This PowerPoint is provided by our corporate people, and it is bloated. And so what of this I'll actually use, I don't even know. But it kind of goes into the foundation of our company. It's really built by a family of doctors that were in Florida. The father of the family was diagnosed with a terminal cancer, and they were told he had about 6 weeks to live, but he couldn't see his oncologist for about 5 weeks. Sounds about right. You know, we've heard that before. Seeing as they're doctors, though, they were able to call around and get someone to take a second look at his samples. And this doctor was willing to go in on a Saturday afternoon, dig through the samples himself, find the sample, look at it. Turns out it's not terminal cancer. It's very treatable. And so they did treatment, and he's now alive and well in Florida, leading this whole thing. So, but they came out of this experience and they said, you know, we're doctors, and we got to see the other side of the table, and man, it really sucks. You know, you can't get a hold of anyone when you need it. and it's just not very convenient. So they said, let's create a system where we can help the average person who isn't a doctor. The only reason we got this second opinion is because we know people. We have connections. So let's use these connections to help other people. And so they founded, Chin Med is the founding company. You can see it. At this point, it doesn't work on the television. It reflects everywhere. But Chin Med, the biggest branch of that being dedicated senior medical center, about 100 centers across the nation. But they said, let's create a system where your primary care doctor sits at the center of your health care, and they coordinate everything. They coordinate with your specialists. They coordinate everything from within our center. So then you don't have to sit on the line and schedule your own specialist appointments. You don't have to make sure everyone's on the same page. We're doing that on your behalf. You're not doctors. How can you communicate with doctors? You know, let's let the doctors do that. Some of you might be doctors, actually. Yeah, you never know. But so that's kind of the idea of the company. And again, there's all sorts of nonsense. But one big thing that we do is free transportation. And that's Lyft and Uber. I know it kind of gets a bad rap sometimes, but we use concierge Lyft. And so it's only actually for businesses. And so we can order a ride instantaneously for any of our patients and get them into our center. We try to treat our center almost as a minor emergent care. We can do anything from basic stitches to x-rays, right, as I mentioned, so that you can avoid ERs. ERs, a lot of times you get those 8-hour waits. You know, we've heard that a couple times. At our office, right, since we have those lower patient panels, we have time built into our schedules to see patients if they need us, same day if not the next day. And so that's the whole idea, right? That convenient factor built into that already. We don't have PAs, we don't have residents. We think that when you come in, you should deal with a certified provider every time. Ideally, right, the same person every time. The only instance you'd see someone else is if you came in need. We'd get you scheduled as kind of fit. So just a lot of kind of the basics of what we do. This is the father who fell ill, right, and was diagnosed with that cancer. But he's still kicking. He was scared and confused. I was scared once. Yeah, a lot of this is just kind of bloated information. Again, convenient. At our center, we are going to have cardiology as we kind of grow our patient panels, a cardiologist on site, podiatrist, and acupuncture. If anyone of you have had acupuncture, it's kind of a very useful tool for pain management opposed to going to medicines. We try to avoid narcotics like a lot of people these days. They can kind of be addictive. A lot of people need them, but for some people, we'll try those alternative pain management sources. But our primary providers actually can do a lot of these cares themselves, the podiatry care. Our Dr. H, he's our center medical director, came out of a room the other day, real excited because he saved a toe. He's like, I saved the toe today, and so he got to go home and tell his wife, I'm sure about that. But I know. A lot of things like diabetes, you know, is something that's very common, and a lot of people see an endocrinologist for this. What we found is that if you can see someone a little more regularly, you can do micromanaging type steps to control diabetes. And so in that way, you really can eliminate an endocrinologist by seeing a provider more frequently. I know here again, Dr. H mentioned that he had a patient come in who said for 12 years they had never had a blood sugar below 100, which is about your standard. And they got it below 100 thanks to just that regular checkup. So kind of a cool thing. We ask our patients to come in once every 4 to 6 weeks at minimum. Again, that can kind of seem a little aggressive. The reason is we're trying to be preventive. Every day we recite that we're trying to prevent and manage high-risk diseases. The idea is that we can kind of prevent current chronic diseases from continuing to progress or prevent future chronic conditions from developing in the first place. So as the nature of that, right, that 4 to 6 week appointment is really beneficial. We don't have your typical appointment problems, right, where you wait for 40 minutes to see a PA for 5 to see your doctor for 3. You come in, you wait. Seriously, our wait times typically range 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 8 minutes. It depends, but I've seen people walk in, check in, and then get called back. It's really good. Again, we see less people, so it allows us to do that. And then you go back and deal with your provider directly for a minimum of 20 minutes each appointment. On average, our patients see a provider for about 10 times more than your typical doctor, which means in 1 year of being our patient, you get about 10 years worth of doctoring with anyone else in the city. So it's kind of cool. The last kind of, fun facts, how about this? Our patients live about 5 to 6 years longer. This is all data that's scientifically founded, right? 5 to 6 years longer just through that preventive health. They go to ER about 33% less and are admitted about 26% less. So just the nature of having that access kind of drives health outcomes in a good way. Again, last thing, everyone gets their provider's direct phone number. We believe this is kind of crucial to the care model, right? If your primary care doctor is at the center of your care, you need to be able to get a hold of them. And so they have a phone. I have a phone issued from our company, and they keep it in their pocket. They keep them with them, even on the weekends. And when it rings, the company expectation is that they answer it. Obviously, if they're with a patient, you probably want them to handle the patient. Just like if you were seeing them, you'd want them to give you your attention, but they'll give you a call back. That's kind of core to everything that we do. So I'm sure there's a lot more information on flyers and stuff, but if you guys have questions, we can get to it now, or we can...
Let's go ahead and do yours first.
Okay. Yeah.
And my first question is, how old is... Oh, when do you start taking... How old is old?
You're trying to get me in trouble.
When do you start taking patients? At what age?
So it's kind of a strange question. Technically, there's no age requirement. What we need is Medicare. Someone to be on Medicare.
Medicare.
We have a couple patients in their 30s just due to life circumstances being on Medicare already. And there are patients and they love it. We try to aim for about 55. Anything 55 and below is kind of a case-by-case basis. We take it to the providers and we say, this is kind of the person we're meeting with, this is their life situation, and we kind of make sure that A, they're a fit for us, and B, we're a fit for them. Because not everyone's going to be a fit for what we do, and that's okay. We're never upset when people have a doctor that they see and takes good care of them already. So.
Could I add something to it? That's how Josh and I met. He helps people to the point where when they have, some people, they answer the phone, or they talk to a salesperson and they change their medical coverage, and now all of a sudden their doctor's not in network and their meds aren't, and they just got a big giant mess. And so Josh calls me in, and part of what I do is kind of untangle some of those. Sometimes people don't have Medicare. They don't realize they've been eligible for 15 years. Nobody's told them, that sort of stuff. So that's how we got to know each other.
Yeah, we definitely work in tandem.
Hang on.
Oh no! Put him on!
That's hilarious.
You're too funny, girl.
I guess the question is how much?
So insurance covers the cost of everything we do. There's no payment, no cost for the rides, the x-rays, the lab works. You could get an x-ray every day. You're going to start to see through walls if you do that, so we're not going to want to do that. But the answer is these Medicare plans actually cover everything that we do. The only cost people would ever occur is if they have a specialist copay and they come to see our cardiologist, podiatrist, or get acupuncture. We honor those copays. At the same time, though, we have waivers set up within our company to get rid of those copays in the event someone can't pay them, because it would be absurd to refuse someone the ability to see a cardiologist at our center because of $25 or $30. We'll just get rid of it. So kind of something else that makes us a little bit unique in that way.
Other questions? Any?
Where's their building located?
Where
are you
we
located?
Right now, so who here knows Wichita well? I'm guessing most of you. There's a street called 13th. You should know that pretty well. If you ride that east, you'll get to Grove Street, which is right before Hillside. We're at the intersection of 13th and Grove right now. We are opening our second center in October on Oliver and Lincoln. So that's south of Kellogg. Yep, South Oliver, just about half a mile south of Kellogg. And in the future, at an undisclosed amount of time away, we are opening at 21st and Amadon, which would be certainly a little bit closer. Yeah, and so that will certainly be a little closer. I've had a lot of people concerned about the location due to the kind of concerns for safety. So our company actually goes above and beyond to put those centers in those locations, because a lot of times the neediest populations are there. And the family that founded this company is very faith-driven, and they believe that everyone deserves to be taken care of. So they purposely put our locations kind of in lower-income locations. So, but do not be afraid. Yes, do not be afraid. We've actually seen that any place that gets one of our centers actually shows improvement in kind of its circumstances. And so we've had less than any problems. The people have been awesome. And they're always very grateful.
Because it's amazing how better health care improves their lives, improves their livelihood, improves their community. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Question. Medicare will pay for a physical once a year, and you have to wait till the following year to get another one. And when you call in, well, we got to check and make sure it's gone a year. How does it work in your situation?
We'll give you a physical every day if we have to. So your typical primary doctor works on what you call a fee-for-service model. You come in, you get a blood draw, and they bill Medicare. We work fundamentally different. Only place in the state of Kansas that does it this way. It's called value-based care. And so actually, your insurance is going to pay us at the start of the month to administer your health care. And so then we can do anything we want as much as we want because we already have the funds allocated to do so. One thing that makes value-based care so unique is that anything above and beyond the cost they pay us, we pay out of pocket, which is a really, really good thing actually, because we're incentivized to provide health care, to keep people healthy. And so it's just a really, really cool model. It's actually started by this family, been replicated by a lot of companies, and is spreading across the United States. So it's a cool thing. I think I answered your question. Yeah. Okay.
I trip over the trash can and do a beautiful dive.
Okay, so they have their own doctors, correct?
Yep, we do. We not share. We pay our doctors to take care of our patients. Yes, and all of them are Wichita locals that we've stolen from other places. Oh, okay. Yeah. Dr. Brian Hilgenfeld is our center medical director for 13th and Grove, and he was working in the Ascension system for 20 to 30 years at various locations as a hospitalist in the ER, yada, yada, yada. But he by nature is an internalist, which means he kind of specializes in medicine in the body. But yeah, one of our providers, Anthony Shaver, is a veteran. Chandel Beatty also worked the ER side of things, wound care specifically. We just got Dr. Meyer, Angela Meyer. She was practicing in Winfield, and she decided to move on up here. She said, I live in Valley Center. I don't know why am I driving to Winfield anyway? So, but the people in Winfield love her so much that she brought patients with her. They drive once a month an hour to see her. That's another thing that's really cool is we hire about 1 in 137 employees that we interview. And it's not because they don't want to hire me. Right? I'm a dime a dozen. I'm not that special. It's our providers that are very, very well respected and sought after, and they are very, very, very aggressive in their interviewing and policies as to who they will or will not hire. So.
Okay. Can we get the...
You want the bloated PowerPoint?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying.
No, yeah.
There's a copy of it.
Yeah, a copy of it is what I mean.
I will email this to Daryl, and
Okay.
Daryl can put something in our DVD or our website that will connect you to the PowerPoint.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yeah.
Do your doctors have hospital privileges at the local facilities? Or when you are admitted to the hospital? You're there, you're in a whole new world, or what?
So we get notified. We have systems that notify us when someone is admitted, and it is our policy to reach out to them within a day of, the word I'm looking for is when you get dismissed from the hospital. Discharged, that's the word. I was going to say admitted, but that doesn't make sense. You get out and you go back in. So they themselves are not in the systems, but they are in communication with a lot of those people. Again, they probably have formed relationships with these people over time. So do they have a direct affiliation? No, not necessarily, but which is a good thing. We don't have any affiliation with any specific hospital. You can use any ER or hospital that you'd like.
But the doctors that you have, that you're already going to, is going to be at the hospital you're going.
So
No. So you all need to understand. When you go into the hospital, you don't ever see your doctor in the hospital. When have you checked into the ER or been admitted to the hospital and had your primary care physician assist you? So this is working the exact same way. Josh is talking about your primary care physicians are located at the senior medical center. But like any other hospital visit, you will have whoever you hit the door with. And I'm telling you now, if you hit the ER or the hospital, you want to pray for the doctor you get. So, because it is Russian roulette. And it doesn't matter what insurance you have. It doesn't matter who you know. It is Russian roulette the minute you hit the ER door. So, the amount of times that Steve and I go somewhere and we get hit with a bill that the place we went to was covered by our insurance, but the doctor who hospitalized us was not covered. So bam, $800 out the window. So to think that there's actually a real symbiotic relationship between our hospitals and our doctors right now is not happening in this country. So just to say. So sorry, did I steal your thunder? I apologize.
You're great. I'm going to pay you to do it.
He's paying me in chocolate.
The horror stories I've heard just from people about their experiences in the hospital system, go on and on and on and can keep me awake at night. But anywhere from, I have a pulmonologist and a cardiologist. One put me on metoprolol and one put me on carvedilol, and they're not looking at each other's records. That's the same medication, just different names. Now your blood pressure is 50/30. And so, we're sitting at the middle of everything, evaluating medicines, evaluating what other providers are doing and making sure everything's on the same page, that coordinated care. Same way with ER visits. They don't look at your records. They don't know what's going on. They know your blood pressure's high, so they're going to give you a blood pressure medication. You're on 5 already. And so, we're going to talk to you a day or two after your discharge and see, what did they do to you? Let's fix the problems that they caused, if they caused any. And so, it's just having your provider in your corner, someone you can relate to, get to know a little bit more personally. I know Chandel, one of our providers, talks about how sometimes they just talk about gardening, talk about almost anything but doctoring. But health is more than blood pressures and blood sugars. It's mental, it's spiritual, and so it's cool like that.
And your hope is, if you're seeing them every 4 to 6 weeks, you're on such a preventative track that your hospitalizations are extremely minimal.
How does the pharmacy part of that work? Because would you have to have Part D then?
Okay, so the question was, how does the pharmacy part work?
Yes, so we do have that medication room that can bill your insurance like any pharmacy. So if you go to the Walgreens pharmacy and you're getting it for $0, get it for $0 from our place. Absolutely.
Yeah. But you don't have to have Part D to use your service.
So if there's any downside to what we do, and this is out of my control, we right now only work with the Medicare Advantage plans, the Part Cs, which include dental, vision, medication, etc. So, yeah. Last year we were trying to get all Medicare and SUPs, and nice government decided not going to work. So.
Did I understand right that you could do like full health examinations in your facility?
You did hear. So yes, in our facility, actually, every patient's first appointment is what we call a total health visit, and it's a panel of like 14 evaluations so that we can get a really, really good look at your health. It detects like 76% of all chronic conditions. It includes your lab work, urine analysis to see how your kidneys are working, an echocardiogram. We look at your heart, and other minor screenings for like neuropathy or memory care. But yes, our providers feel comfortable doing woman wellness exams, anything your primary doctor can do.
Like oncology and things like that?
Woman, yeah, your typical woman wellness,
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yep, we got it.
What if you need surgery or orthopedic care?
So just like any other primary office, we can refer. You know, if you need an orthopedic surgeon, you know, let's get you one. If it's something minor, obviously we can take care of it if we feel comfortable. But, you know, major surgeries, I'm the closest thing to an anesthesiologist, and you don't want me. You don't want me putting you out. Yeah, it's the old-fashioned methods. So, exactly, yeah. Bite on this towel. Yeah, so, no, we're going to get you someone who knows how to do surgery.
Yeah.
But, yeah, a referral just like any other primary care can do.
I'll be right there, Buzz. Yes.
Can you use the current doctors that you have? Like if you have a cardiologist, will they refer to that person, or do you pick a new one?
That's a beautiful question, and one conversation we want you to have if you switch to a doctor with us, with your provider. We are all for people keeping relationships. We're also all for making things more seamless, cost-effective, and convenient if possible. So that's a conversation you'll definitely have with your provider. But we are not affiliated with any specific providers in the city. We can refer to anyone that accepts your insurance, of course. So, yeah.
Okay, over here.
Did I hear you say that you only work with people who have the Medicare Advantage plans?
As of right now, yeah. Only the Advantage plans. Trust me, it frustrates me every day of my life. The only good news is, and William's going to speak a lot more to this later, these plans have actually progressed significantly in kind of what they can and cannot do. And a lot of it's kind of just knowing about these plans and how they can benefit you in ways that your supplemental plans may or may not. They're not fit for everyone, but they're not as bad as they once were.
I have a follow-up question. Is it true or false that Medicare Advantage plans require you signing up for Medicaid?
Let's have Mr.
It's false.
What was that question?
So the question was, when you're signing up for a Medicare Advantage plan, are you required to sign up for Medicaid? And that is false. It's a false fact.
What's the difference between Medicare and Medicaid?
That'll be William.
We'll
let him-
get there.
And let's go ahead and let William go ahead and speak, because then we can continue with questions after we hear from him. So, thank you, Josh. Thank you very much.
Well done, sir. Well done. Well done.
I gotta go hit band practice.
We
now.
got to switch.
Yeah. I'll do it. I'll make it work.
See how that.
Let it think.
Let it think for a second. It's thinking.
One more thought.
Oh, wait, it's got to think again. It's there. Well, wait a minute. Wait a
No,
minute.
this is okay.
Wait a minute.
It's okay. We've been.
I did not hold my mouth right. I apologize. Yeah, probably is. I lead a class at my church on Tuesday nights, and we have this sort of stuff, and it never works. So anyway, my name is William Gibbs, and I'm with American Senior Benefits. A little bit about me: I'm 56 years old. Don't let the beard fool you. I'm that old. And I've been Wichita native, born and raised out west. Of a Goddard graduate. So I've been here most of my life. My mother was a teacher, and father was a plumber. And anyway, it's a little bit about me. I have a wife and 3 children, 3 boys. The oldest will be 32 next week, and I have 30-year-old twins. So, and they're all boys. I have and a male grandson. So I have no clue. As my wife will say, I have no idea about women. Anyway. I do know quite a bit about Medicare and that sort of thing. I'm kind of a Medicare and Medicaid specialist. To answer your question, a lot of people who are, I have not ran into anyone who's not on Medicaid, who is on Medicaid, who's not on a Medicare Advantage. It just makes more sense because there's no income to pay the supplemental premium. There's no monthly, left over. So, and there's a lot of extra benefits that the Part C, the Medicaid, with Medicaid that they pay. Like, for instance, United Healthcare does, $230 a month that they can use for groceries and that sort of thing. Aetna, you can use it for rent and that sort of thing. So it helps a lot of people, and how Josh and I got to know each other is just helping some of the folks he was helping untie their mess and get them the benefits that they need. You know, I hate to sound like the commercial that's on TV, but that's a good thing to do, because when you're struggling, and I run into people, I have clients that make $126 a month. That's what they make. And so the $230 they get for groceries is a giant thing. And, you know, I do a lot of planning and you know, I help all sorts of people, all sorts of economic levels. My true love is helping those people get that, because there's great satisfaction in that. There's no money in that, but there's great satisfaction in that, and I love helping. So let's talk about Medicare Part A and B for 2023. Medicare Part A takes care of your room and board. Your inpatient hospital care, skilled nursing, general nursing, hospice, that sort of thing, blood, miscellaneous services. Kind of think of it as your room and board. And then you have, also it takes care, well, you have a deductible for the Part A. In each benefit period, which is you have a deductible of $1,600. And once you've met your deductible, Medicare will pay all Part A covered inpatient hospital for 60 days, yes. Yeah, for 60 days. So you go in for 60 days, which nobody does. You're usually out to a convalescent home or something like that. But you're in, let's say that you're in for 60 days and you're out for 2 days, and then you have to go back in. You have another $1,600 deductible. So that can go every 60 days for a year. Also, some of the other co-payments on the Part A, the co-payments from days 61 to 90, beginning with the 61st day, this is fun, and the next 29 days you must pay a co-payment charge of $400 a day, with Medicare paying the rest. And then you get into your lifetime reserve days, and each day you use of this is one less you have. When you're using your lifetime reserve days, it's $800 a day co-payment. And then when these days are gone, they're gone forever. They're all used up, and then Medicare pays nothing. So, Medicare, there's for skilled nursing, Medicare will pay only if it's a Medicare-approved facility and if it's skilled. They won't pay for any intermediate or any sort of convalescent care, anything like that. You have to be skilled. Medicare will pay for all covered services for the first 20 days. And then you have a copay for the next from 21 to 79 days of $200 a day, which really for skilled care is really a good deal for $200 a day, because it goes for a lot more than that. After 100 days, Medicare pays nothing at all. Medicare Part B. Medicare Part B pays for such things as doctor services, outpatient hospital services, and medical supplies and services. So the stuff that Josh and his doctors do. All of the surgeon fees, anesthesiologist, all of that sort of stuff. It takes care of your non-self-administered drugs and all that. There is a separate Part B deductible which applies each calendar year. The current deductible is $226. Talking about the Medicare Advantage plans, when somebody is on low-income subsidy, and on Medicare, I can help them recoup some of that $226 that they pay. Also, the monthly that they pay, the monthly Medicare premiums that they pay. So I can help get some of all that stuff back. Okay, that covers Part B. First of all, any questions about A and B?
So when you sign up for Medicare, you automatically sign up for A and B?
Well, generally you do. Now some people though just get A.
Okay.
And then they don't get B. And I've ran into this with clients where I have a 67-year-old client who's still working. I have two clients that are in that same boat, 171, 167. The 67-year-old one has credible coverage through her employer. So she doesn't have to apply for Part B. But as soon as that credible coverage ends, she has 63 days. Or she will start accruing a Part B penalty that she will pay forever. That never goes away. It's like student loans. Never go away. You pay it forever. Client B is 71, had a coworker tell her, you're still working, you don't need to apply for Part B, but has not taken out any coverage at the employer because it was too expensive. She's going to suffer. Her only solution, and we're working on doing this, is when she stops working, she's going to have to file for Medicaid, because the state will pay that penalty for her if she's on Medicaid. So that's her solutions are keep working, go on Medicaid, do the spend down and do all that stuff. So what I try to do is I try to meet with groups like you all. Hopefully I get people before they turn 65, so kind of warn them of some of these things, because nobody talks about it, you know, and you talk to coworkers and that sort of stuff, and everybody's got an idea and everybody's got a brother-in-law or what have you that knows something about something. But you really need to sit down with a professional and make sure that all that, you know, this poor lady, and I'm the bearer of the bad news, I have to sit in her living room and go, well, I got bad news and I got bad news. Which one do you want first? Now the other lady, it's wonderful, and when she retires, you know, we'll figure out which way she wants to go, Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement. A little bit about me and my company, American Senior Benefits. We're one of the nation's largest supporters of the senior insurance market. We're a insurance marketing organization. We specialize in the needs of seniors. We specialize in the pitfalls and the problems, and we help people make sure that they don't befall any of those sort of things. So when we get to sit down with people, yes.
Okay, I'm with that second group, I think. I'm 72. I just retired again.
Okay.
My first retirement was federal government post office. A only is what they tell you to do, because Blue Cross Blue Shield federal pays top.
Yeah.
So you don't need B. But now, I think I need B. But every time I try to get it, I can't.
Huh. What, I mean, like just you're on hold forever, or?
Something about it has to be 20 days short of your birthday, or they're always coming up with something.
Huh.
And then they said some kind of form that I had to have to show that the post office that I had insurance.
Yeah, that would you want that. You make sure you keep that. That's important, because that certifies that you had credible coverage, and that credible coverage, you know, you're good with that. You don't have that Part B problem with that. But you have 63 days once that ends, that credible coverage ends, to get, and it's really Part D is what they're scared of, because the thing that scares them is cancer drugs and medications. And so they want people to be on, it's really a Part D plan. That's where the penalty comes from. If you don't have at least credible coverage for prescription, then they're going to hit you with that penalty. But maybe.
With my federal retirement, I only get from Social Security like $220 a month because of my postal retirement. Well, I don't even make enough money to pay the $226.
Wow.
We should schedule a meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I know not to be all, you know, but we need to sit down, because, you know, one of the things I do with people is I'll just get on the phone with Medicare. I'll just get on the phone with the Social Security office and spend an hour on hold, or 2 hours, or whatever it takes. And, you know, if sometimes we get to the end of our meeting time and, you know, say, hey, why don't you call them tomorrow or something? So whatever it takes to figure out what, and you got to hear from them, from the horse's mouth, what your particular situation is. And I find sometimes I get different stories on the same people from different representatives. So, but it's good to be able to nail them down, and I write their names down and get all the information I can on them because I want to nail them to the wall if something comes back where they can't. They say, no, that one, no, that is what you said. So, I mean, we ought to sit down and look over all your options because there's a lot of them out there. Okay, how about part C? Okay, let's go A, B, C. We'll just go alphabetical. That is Medicare Advantage plans. That is the obnoxious commercials you see on TV. If you want extra benefits, call and get them right now. Get all the benefits that you deserve. And they're right, but their commercials are wrong because they don't do it correctly. The correct way to do it is you have to look at primary care physician and medications. Those are your two money drivers. That's what costs you the most. And so, you know, these Medicare Advantage plans are great if they're applied properly. If people, but these guys are just doing things just to try to change people. They want to take you from this plan to that plan. They have no care about what's going on or the devastation they're causing. Medicare Part C, like Josh said earlier, has really improved. I've been doing this, I started this in 1987. So I've seen some things. This is not Medicare like I remember back in the day. Medicare Part C, when it first came out, I would say, you know, it's probably for people that are on the lower income scale that maybe are healthy and don't want to pay for their Medicare up front because, you know, there's two ways to pay for your Medicare expenses, all this stuff that they scare you with the slides and all that stuff. There's two ways to pay for it. You can either prepay it with a Medicare supplement or you can pay as you go with a Medicare Advantage. Just depends on which way you like to do things. But it all depends on, and I don't care if it's Medicare supplement, Medicare Advantage, Part C, Part D, LMNOP, you got to make sure that primary care physicians are in network and your medications are taken care of. And I go up on Medicare.gov and I type in, I had a client of 20-some medications. Type them all in and just go through, okay, these doctors on these plans, this one's in network, this one's out of network, these medications, and just kind of get a general idea what your medications are going to cost you for the next year. So it kind of allows you to budget a little bit, those people who budget. So C has gotten a lot of bad press, I think, to begin with, but the plans that are coming out now are really pretty good. They give a little bit back on the over-the-counter. You know, it's kind of flexible. You can use. It's nice because they have dental, they have vision, they have hearing. You have a card that has your over-the-counter benefits on it. You can order stuff from a catalog, or you can go to Walmart and buy stuff. Now you can use the cards for groceries. You can use it for healthy foods and that sort of thing. So, you know, there's. Did you have a question? I'm sorry, I thought somebody had a question. Anyway, Part C. That's so you know everybody's. There's no cookie cutter answers. I mean, to anybody that I sit down with. Some people, my in-laws, they travel all over the world. They're on a Medicare Advantage plan. They love it. They don't want to pay premiums. I've paid premiums all my life and not paying any more premiums. Okay. I will say though, if you get to a place where a Medicare Advantage, maybe one of the downsides of it is if you need long-term care, if you need to be in a nursing home. But what we do in that situation, and I did this with my stepmother. She was on a Medicare supplement, moved her to a Medicare Advantage plan, saved her $240 a month. And it actually is a little more than that with the Part D. And then she's diagnosed with terminal cancer. So that changes everything. So we worked the Medicare Advantage, and it worked great while she was in the hospital and stuff, but then we had to put her in a skilled nursing facility, and it was better to take her back to original Medicare without a Medicare supplement because we did the spend down and all that sort of thing. So I also have experience with my grandmother and my stepmother of doing the spend downs, of getting people to the place where Medicaid kicks in.
What is this spend down?
Well, it's a formula.
What is the spend
Oh, sorry.
down?
The question was, what is the spend down? It's a formula that the state of Kansas puts together, and they look back 5 years. So if you're going to build a trust or something and transfer all your wealth to the trust so that the kids get it and the long-term care facility or the government doesn't get it, you got to do that at least 5 years before you have your long-term care situation, because the state of Kansas will look back at all your assets. And if you transferred any large portion, whatever portion you transferred, that's how much you have to pay for your own care until that's all spent. And then they'll kick in with Medicaid. So there's a lot of intricacies to retirement and making sure. And my whole job is to make sure that you keep as much money as you possibly can. That's my entire driving goal. That's why, there's 4 areas that I help people, and that's with medical insurance, because that's a huge cost. Long-term care and short-term care, dental, vision, hearing. Final expense, making sure that you have some money to put you in the ground so that your family doesn't have to start a GoFundMe. And then the fourth is in retirement, and helping people either accentuate the Social Security through some savings or participating in markets ups without participating in any of the downs. So my job is to protect your money. Anyway, there's my 50-cent sales pitch.
One more
Yes.
question, though. So Medicare, you can change it from year to year, right?
You cannot.
Oh.
Because you're technically, when you go from A, B, and D to C, which doesn't make any sense, but when you go from A, B, and D to C, you're technically leaving Medicare. And you're entering the Medicare Advantage world. So, and you can go back once. So you can try it, and if you didn't like it, that's why I think it's important. I'm a huge fan of Medicare Advantage plans in the right situation. They're wonderful. They save people hundreds of dollars a month, and they give them hundreds of dollars a month in certain circumstances. I think they're wonderful, but they're not for everybody. And when you get in that long-term care situation like I am with my stepmother, it made sense to go away from that and back into Medicare, which you can do once. So, what I tell my clients is, let's try this. If you don't like it, we can always go back. And if we get into a situation where our health starts to deteriorate horribly and that sort of thing, then maybe we look at going back to Medicare. But it just depends. Everybody's situation is.
I want to throw in there, and I'll remind you of this next week. When you're going to look at your senior living residences, make sure they'll take Medicaid for their long-term care. Some places here in Wichita don't take Medicaid. And you want to be aware of that, because if they don't take Medicaid, that means you'd better have a whole big pot of gold somewhere, right? Because they're going to expect you to spend your money on them. And then when you've spent all your money with them, you're going to be asked to move to somewhere that does take Medicaid. Mm-hmm. And when you're in that state, especially if you or your loved one have dementia, that move is huge. And it's hard, and it can wipe you out quick. So just be aware of that as you're considering Medicare, Medicare Advantage, and Medicaid, and where you might go for senior living. Make sure they take Medicaid.
You say that you can go back once.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean if you have an arm's length of conditions that you've been and are being treated for? Or will they look at it and say, mm-mm?
Well, that's the problem with the going back, is you've got to be healthy enough to be able to get a Medicare supplement. Generally, when clients are going back, they're going back because they're in a facility and they're going to be there the rest of their life, and the family's done the spend down, and they're basically on Medicaid. I would never suggest anybody that's not on Medicaid to go just from a Medicare Advantage to back to Medicare, because you wouldn't be able to get a supplement and you would have no, so yeah, I wouldn't suggest to do that. It's kind of a last ditch kind of, hey, we're going to do this before, or, the reason it's there is for that reason, and it's also because people try and they don't like it. They try it for a year or two and they don't like it. Hey, I don't like this. But they're still real healthy and everything's going good, so they bump back to a Medicare supplement. But it's nice with the Medicare Advantage is it takes care of dental, vision, hearing, all your prescriptions. And if you keep your doctor, this is one of the things I tell all my clients, try like the dickens to get tier 1 drugs. Because then on a Medicare Advantage, you don't suffer the donut hole. You pay nothing the whole year for your meds if they're tier 1. So it's important to. This is one thing with my stepmother. I love her doctor, but she would just call him. I got this, and he would prescription, and then she's like, "Oh, I got this huge bill for this prescription." Well, why are you doing a tier 3 drug? Well, that's what the doctor prescribed. Well, tell him to do a tier 1. Yeah. I guarantee you there's one out there.
Okay. So what is the donut hole?
Well, it doesn't taste good. It's not sugary. The donut hole is there's a big giant hole in your prescription drug coverage.
And is this on Advantage plan?
No. No, this is, there could be. You could be subject to a donut hole on a Medicare Advantage if you didn't have tier 1 drugs.
Okay.
You would. In fact, you would. But the donut hole is you have so much that the prescription drug company is going to pay for, and then they kind of leave you on your own for a few months until you kind of pay sort of what they've paid. It doesn't work that, it's not equal, but there's a formula. And then you get to go back on at the end of the year and they pretty much cover everything 100%. I think it doesn't make any sense to me, but that's kind of the way it works. And there's a formula that they use.
Okay, question.
Yes.
Patty and I are I think we're at the same age thing here. So I'm turning 65 in October.
Now it's time to talk.
So does that mean I enroll in Medicare that month? I mean,
you can do it 3 months earlier.
I can do it. I mean,
yeah.
You have a time afterwards. You have
3 months before and 3 months after.
So you have that 6 months of three.
Yes, that's for A and B. But that does not, that 3 months does not negate you from that 63 days for the credible coverage. So,
see, I'm on Health Flex through Blue Cross with what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So will I finish that out through the end of the year and then go on Medicare January 1? I'm looking at trying to figure out those dates. How does that work?
Well, you're eligible for it at your 3 months before your 61st birthday. You have to have it done 3 months, but within 3 months after your 61st birthday. But that's to be guaranteed issue for Medicare 65th. Supplements at 65th. Sorry, what did I say? 61st. 65th. So excited. Yeah, I'm so excited. You actually go back in time. So that 6 month period is for you, is so that you're guaranteed issue during that period through all the companies. All the companies can deem you guaranteed issue if you apply for their product at 3 months before age 65 up to 3 months after. The prescription drug deal with the credible coverage, once your credible coverage ends at work, so if that ends on your 65th birthday, if that ends January 1,
It ends the last day of the year.
Okay, then you have 63 days from there to make sure that you have everything in order. That you have a prescription drug plan. And now, if you're still going to be covered under work, or if there's some special deal like that, as long as you can prove credible coverage, you're fine. You don't have to apply.
Go ahead and stay on that. Well, I wouldn't want to.
Are you going to retire?
No. Well.
Whoa! We've got news. News has been made here
You
tonight.
guys don't even know.
Whoa.
I retired last year for 30 seconds and moved into a whole other denomination. Anyways. So what did you just say? I'm just trying to clarify what he just told me. I mean about,
If you
I
stay
need to
on,
go to Medicare?
no, if you
Well-
stay on Health Flex, you have credible coverage.
I know, right.
Anytime you come off that Health Flex, you've only got 63 days to move, but you don't have to do it next year if you don't want to.
Well, how long do I have,
As long as you have credible coverage.
as long as I have credit?
Yeah.
Credible coverage.
As long as you're getting your prescriptions all taken care of now, you're fine.
You can pass her Asbury till you're 100 years old, and we don't have to worry about moving.
There you go.
I just
Yep.
know that, well,
Yeah, yes.
So you're not
Let me ask
retiring.
one
That's
other
awesome.
question.
Yes.
And I was told this, I have never heard this anywhere, but maybe you can tell me. They said this was an Obama thing, that if you happen to be at a place where you worked and there was 20 employees or more, you were not eligible for Medicare.
No. Well.
Where'd that come from? Is that? I mean,
No. Not that I've ever seen. And
That's what I was told.
under 65 medical insurance, it might as well be voodoo. I don't know how they do it. I don't know. It might as well be voodoo. I look at it and go, I just don't want anything to do with that. It's a whole different world. Obamacare and all that, and the Affordable Care Act, we have a specialist in our office that does that. I just refer clients to them when there's a situation like that. I'm not an expert on that. But no, Medicare, you're eligible.
Else that I've talked to,
No.
I've never heard of that. This guy who works with pension and benefits stuff told me something to that effect. I thought, I've never heard of that in my life.
You're eligible for Medicare if you've worked 40 quarters in the United States. So 10 years of work, you have Medicare. You can apply it. And if you have end-stage renal disease and some other, like I know I have a client that had multiple transfusion or transplants, you automatically qualify for Medicaid. Medicaid. Yeah. No matter what your financial situation. He was quite wealthy, but he was getting, and it's my understanding that's something Trump did when he was in office, that he put this into place that if you were having multiple transplants or end-stage renal failure, that you automatically qualify for Medicaid. And then the Medicare Advantage would take over all that other sort of stuff. And being automatically qualified for Medicaid, whatever is not paid or is left over, the state comes in and takes care of. So there's no cost to the client.
All I know is I'm getting everybody and their brother sending me
Oh.
letters in the mail.
You haven't been this desired since you were the 30 to 49
No one
demographic.
cared about me until now. The more I get, the more they care.
Exactly.
And so I can't say more often, go to someone who knows their stuff. Don't talk to your brother. Don't talk to your coworker. Don't talk to 80-year-old grandma. Don't talk to the people who are doing it their way. Like my mom had Part A and B, but she had Part A and B from 30 years ago. That works very differently than Part A and B right now. You need to talk to someone who has the latest laws, because it changes every year. And you need to talk to someone who's not going to just lead you down a merry path to make a little money because they've sent you stuff in the mail. Find someone, there's not just William, but I know there are people at our county extension office who are also very knowledgeable about Medicare, right? There are people to go to, like William and others, but talk to someone who actually understands Medicare. Not average insurance, not supplemental insurance, but understands Medicare.
Yeah. And you know, at the end of the day, whether you're happy with your doctor and anything that I offer is valuable to you, ready for this? It would behoove you to get someone like William in Wichita that's local, that can come visit you, that can assess what's going on, because you're about to get hit with phone calls. If you say yes to a raffle, they'll switch your plan. Okay? Seriously.
Yeah, it's weird. All they got to do is get you to say yes at a particular
to anything, and they can switch your plan.
and it's done.
So if
You
you
got to wait till next year.
if you hear the words insurance and it's not someone that you know and trust, don't answer. Just hang up. They call hundreds of people a day. It's not personal to them. Just hang up the phone. I know it's annoying. Don't even answer it.
What's the fee for your service type?
None.
What's the fee for what William does is the question.
I do a lot of pro bono work. No, it's the companies that I represent, and I'm brand agnostic. I'm not religiously agnostic. I believe in our Lord Jesus Christ, and He's my Savior and my King. But I'm brand agnostic when it comes to this. I'm licensed and appointed with everybody. So everybody except Blue Cross and Blue Shield and Delta Dental, because they're captive companies. My thought is, I started this in 1987 with a captive company you guys may have heard of, a company called Bankers Life and Casualty. It's a good company, but they have their products and they don't have anything else. And I wanted to serve my client. I'm a broker, not an agent. So I'm licensed with everybody. I'm licensed and appointed every Medicare Advantage plan that operates in the state of Kansas and every Medicare supplement plan that's available outside of Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I'm licensed and appointed with. I go through all the trainings, all that stuff starting to roll out. Between now and October 1st, we'll have all the plans come out. We'll know everything. We'll have to take tests. I will spend so many hours on this thing. I'll go cross-eyed. But it's great because I will know I have to pass tests on every plan for every company. So I have to know the plans. So that's part of, I think, my specialty, and I enjoy doing it. I really do. I really love working on the tough cases for some.
So if you don't have a William, I found one for you.
And this guy right here, I want to say something. I'm going to make him beat red.
Wait, give me 2 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
One more question.
That's why I came down here tonight, was to try and find out what's going on. And you're telling me you can't figure it out either.
Well,
He needs to look at your specific
Well,
individual.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that, but unless you come and visit with me or I come visit with you, you're telling me it's impossible to do.
well,
Correct.
It's kind of like getting a haircut over the phone.
Correct. You can't do this on your own, folks, unless you understand the legal and you want to read 500 pages of it.
Yeah, there's no cookie cutter solutions to any of this. There's umpteen different ways to do all of this. And I go back to the two things: primary care physician and your meds. You'll either be happy or miserable with your plan if you based on those two things.
Okay, I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to wrap up. And if you have more questions, please feel free to stay tonight. We'll hang out here for a bit. You don't have to run off, but we'll go ahead and wrap it up for the folks who do need to go.
I got a question. You always hear on the news about our legislature here in Kansas are trying to cut Medicare, cut portions of Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to hurt us down the road someplace if we have to have it?
Well, yeah, I'm.
Probably a loaded question.
It is. It's a very difficult question to answer, but yeah, the answer, is yes. I mean, anything they do to cut that sort of stuff. I mean, you got the fringe elements. Do you where do you offer benefits to? How far do you go? Do you give them to everybody? Do you cut them back here? I don't know the answers to that, but yeah, if they're cutting that back, then, I know. For instance, the payouts going to the companies this year for Medicare and Medicaid has dropped significantly, and companies are having to make changes in their plans because they're not going to be as funded as they thought they were going to be. So, to answer your question, yeah, I think it does. Now,
I'm just curious because you hear about all.
Yeah. Yes.
Could you continue what you just said about companies not receiving the funding that they did last year?
Yeah, there's a reduction in just like with dedicated, they get at the beginning of the month, they get X amount of dollars to take care of the client. The companies, the insurance companies, are very much the same way. So they get a predetermined dollar basically for you. They kind of know how much they're going to get for you at the beginning of the year. And every insurance company does that. Every doctor's office, that's why they charge Medicare, and then Medicare doesn't pay this and that's all that Medicare stuff. So, yeah, I hope I answered your question.
So what you're saying is that doctors' offices that receive Medicare dollars have received a reduction or will receive a reduction in the next 12 months. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm hearing coming up for this next Medicare season, which starts October 15th.
And was that, how far in advance would they know that?
United Healthcare still hasn't come out with their plan yet because they haven't finalized it. Aetna just came out with theirs, and they had to make some last-minute adjustments because their money was different. So all of these companies, how this works is they submit their plans, and the government, CMS, submits an alternate plan. And then they argue back and forth, and then they pretty much do what CMS says they're going to do. Because if CMS says you can't do business, then you can't do business. And so they negotiate all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's all, we all have a Social Security number, and that's so the government can borrow on us. So, yeah, it's an interesting deal.
Yeah. We don't live in a perfect world.
No, we do not.
We do not live in a perfect world. So thank you so much to William and to Josh. Thank you so very, very much.
Oh, one more thing. I can't say enough good things about not only Dedicated, but Josh. You got a real asset right here in your church.
Yeah,
this is
a
wonderful guy.
We do. Amen.
He cares greatly. I've worked with him closely. I've seen what Dedicated's done. I've taken my clients to Dedicated. When I sit down with somebody, I ask them, when we're going through all our stuff, hey, what's your relationship like with your primary care doctor? And if I hear anything but glowing, woo, they're awesome, I say, I've got an alternative for you. How would you like to have your doctor's cell number? How would you like to be able to get an appointment the same day when the ache and pain creeps up instead of 6 weeks from now? How would you like to be preventative, have preventative maintenance as opposed to the doctor finds it and tells you got 6 months? That's what Dedicated does. They honestly do. And I've seen my clients do better with them. I refer everybody I can to Dedicated, and it's not just because he's a fine young man, but he really does care, and he does a tremendous job for people.
Amen. Thank you again, gentlemen. Like I say, if you want to stay behind, please feel free to. If you need to go, feel free to go. Thanks for being here tonight, and thank you guys.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.